Unfortunately, Kel Murray, who was our exhibition and education manager, was unable to be here today. She got sick like within 2 seconds of being here, which was so sad. She put in a ton of effort at the very beginning of this process and made sure to have these artists within this space. So without her work, this today would be wouldn't be probably. So I just wanted to recognize her, but I also wanted to recognize a few other people. So because Kel took a maternity leave just this last October through December, we had to use our community to help us to make this space the way it is today. And I could not have done it. I am not a visual artist. In fact, it's hard for me to dress myself in the morning. So I want to thank a few people today. So Mary Dickey and Rhonda Nass, if you all would mind helping me clap for them for their work. At the very beginning of River Arts. So I'm blessed that I get to see them and work with them on a regular basis. And we also have Marty here, who is all the way in the back. So you're going to have to come up here really quick. Marty did the Potterun Gallery. We wrangled her in. She's an artist. She's also now a board member. She's a volunteer. She does all sorts of stuff. And I personally wanted to thank her for her efforts also for the powder room. So tonight, we're going to start with Mr. Lon Michels, which, man, I am so grateful that this human lives in this community. And I think many of you here today are also feeling the same way. And thank you for braving the cold out there. It is quite terrible, but it's also Wisconsin, so you know how that goes. So Mr. Lon Michels, the son of a fifth-generation stonemason, learned perspective from his father's work. Michels grew up in a small Midwestern town of Marquette, Wisconsin, and followed his mother's artistic lead early on. I remember that she would throw flowers in a pattern across the floor and then make paintings of them. After graduating from Ripon College, he moved to New York City as a working artist. His breakthrough occurred when he was hired by the late sculptor Louise Nevelson, with whom he worked as a studio assistant for 5 years. In his lifetime, he learned that the best way to grow and learn is to share your experiences with others. In order to obtain knowledge, he believes that one must be able to give freely, which is a simple essence that all true artists do. 100% agree with that. I've had many great teachers in his life, or he has had many great teachers in his life, including his professors at Ripon College and more recently, the University of Wisconsin-Madison. He was also greatly influenced by the works of Louise Nevelson and Mark Custody in New York. I don't know him, but I hope we'll hear more. These teachers and their methods to educate himself have made his life experiences not only as an artist, but also as a human being. As an artist, he wanted to create timelessness, a presence. He approaches each piece as if it were a true masterpiece that catches the twinkle of his eye, as if it were going to be placed in a museum. And without further ado, I would love to introduce Mr. Lon Michels.
And also thank you, Mary and Rhonda, for hanging the show. Thank you for River Arts for letting me hang in this show. I've been painting for 55 years. I started out when I was 7 years old. I'll tell you a little bit about this body of work. First of all, the first painted head I did was for a show at Worldwide Plaza in New York. And the show was entitled Scary Beauty, and it was another elk head. And I had gotten it upstate New York, and we had to tie it onto the roof of the car and drive down I think it was the turnpike or something, and people were beeping. It was painted. It was all painted like a zebra. And yeah, it went over so well. And And really, came from this consensus to paint these mountain things because, like Native Americans painted their buffalo hides, and the Sami people in northern Norway painted all of their hides and things, and it seemed like, Georgia O'Keeffe painted paintings of skulls, and I thought, well, I'll just take it one step further and paint the actual skull. Marcel Duchamp painted, did like an old goat with a tire around its waist, and that was pop art. And Merritt Oppenheim did fur bowls and a saucer and a bowl made out of, covered in fur. So this seemed to me like a natural progression of what was happening in the art world in the 80s, and it became pop art. And I sold so many deer heads in New York because they looked so fantastic in so many of those Upper East Side apartments and things, and people just loved them. But we grew up with them all around us. And when I was a child, and this is a true story, we had to stay at my grandparents' house once, and they lived in Sheboygan, and my grandmother was like a crafter. And she had, her whole basement was full of all this crafty stuff, like it was in those days when they made like dolls that would go over rolls of toilet paper and stuff. and it was really weird, and they didn't like us. They didn't like their grandchildren, but we had to stay overnight at their house. And to preface that, my real grandmother died 6 months before I was born, and she knitted a pair of blue booties, and she told my mother that I was going to be quite a young man that was going to be quite something. But to make a long story short,
He's still wearing it.
I'm still wearing it. I almost wore my wolf tonight that has some bling on. Lee knows about my wolf, but I thought I'll tone it down. So we had to stay overnight at their house, and I had two brothers, Lance and Lane. And they were little, and I kind of tried to care for them, and I loved them so much. Now I don't. And it was a really bad storm, and they had this deer head at the end of this basement. People did everything in their basement. They even had a kitchen in their basement, but they had a deer head, and they had these little tiny windows, like above the ceiling level, like little windows. And it was lightning and raining, and every time the lightning came in, it made this horrific shadow from the deer head. And my little brothers were just really bawling and crying, and I said to them, think of it like, don't think of it like that. Think of it like what if God painted it like a tropical fish? Then it wouldn't be so scary. And they were crying. And I said that at that moment, I remember so distinctly, I said, God, I'm going to paint those like tropical fish someday. Oh. And I did. I really did. So that's where it kind of really came from. But when I told them that, they were okay. But also, I love that look of the artist the collector from Russia that collected all of Matisse's work would hang his Matisse's work, which was very modern at the time, with mounts. And also, if you go in Europe, if you go to England or if you go to France, you'll see tons of really beautiful paintings hanging with all of these mounts and things. And I always thought the look was so glamorous. And also, it is a big, enormous pop of pop art. It's a pop of color in your home, and it's whimsical, it's fun. I think they're glamorous. So I took something that was dead and brought it back to life. Something that was no longer relevant and gave it a new meaning. That's what artists do. They take things, they find things. Louise found pieces of wood laying around in the streets. On Sundays we'd go in her black station wagon and pick up old bedposts and pick up whatever we could, and she'd bring them back to life. She'd assign a new life to them, and that's the premise behind the deer heads. And also, I do believe in trying to create something fun. I have a bear at the Museum of West Bend, the MOA. I recently donated it stands, it's the dancing bear, but then it was in the sun for too long, so I had to repaint it a little bit. I put false eyelashes on it, so now it's a girl. Which kind of goes with our society a little bit. But I love this too because I have one at home that's painted like these candies, Chuckle I used to eat as a kid, which they'd have these like gummy candies in red, green, yellow, were primary colors. And then I have an enormous one that is honestly 3 times the size of this one. And I don't know, and we did have it laying on the floor at the time, but I thought, I'm not really, people don't really walk on them. they walk around them, because unless you were, let's say you were a lady with high heels, you're going to put a hole through it. But they're really for, they're pieces of artwork, even the real ones that you see. But, true story, once driving past real close around Mr. Beamer's land, around that hill, in a convertible beetle bug, a black bear did run across the road. And they're so lanky when they're in nature, and it was just beautiful and magnificent. So that was also one of the premises of studying to want to paint these bears. But if you can imagine, in my home, I have great works of art next to all of these mounts and things, and it looks wonderful together. I think it looks wonderful together. And also, it makes me happy. But I've been painting for, as I said, 55 years, probably close to 5,000 pieces. It's how I grow and how I learn. And something wonderful happened for me yesterday. Somebody who just moved to Spain sent me a sculpture that I did on my 9th birthday. They couldn't take it to Europe with them, and I have to reassemble it, but it's a mannequin on a chair. And it's been, honestly, probably 50 years or more since I've seen this piece, and it's kind of beat up. It looks like it had seen a lot of party life or something. It's beautiful, and it really validated my life. I thought, like, wow, I really am not going to give up now, and because I've been doing this for so long. The thing is, this is how I grow, and I think I might be the richest man in the world, but I don't have any money. But I do have great knowledge and great life experience. I believe the number one thing that you could have in your life is kindness. And I try to be as kind as I can so that I can be the best version of myself. But many people in our society also mistake kindness for stupidity, and as of late, that was a really hard lesson for me to learn. But I even have to thank that lesson because it made me into a stronger, better individual. So, sometimes we go through things that are so awful, but in the end, it was what we needed, because not that I needed to be toughened up, but I needed my eyes to be opened a little bit, and for that I'm very, very grateful. But, hi Pauline, I do this because I love it. I love my life, and I love what I'm able to do. I posted today on Facebook, there was a quote from Frida Kahlo, and it said, first you need to fall in love with yourself, then you can fall in love with your life, and then after that you can fall in love with whoever you want, because you'll be okay. And so that's what I'm kind of going for that. I worked for Nevelson in New York. I'm a big man, and at first I think when I first worked, let me tell you a little bit about the shark before I go to the story. The shark here is, everybody saw that movie Jaws, and they were scared to go swimming for the rest of their life, and they still have to go into the ocean and bite my lip a little bit. But the premise is that there's butterflies all over that shark. Butterflies represent enlightenment. So if you're going to die, maybe you're going to go to a horrible death by being eaten by a great white shark. Maybe you're going to come back to something better. But the premise besides this piece was, I have all these really beautiful, beautiful ocean paintings from all over the world. Everywhere I go, I paint. I paint everywhere, everything, every time, all day long. And I thought, I'm going to hang this shark amongst all these beautiful tropical ocean scenes, but just a little bit high, so that you'll look at the paintings first, but then you'll look up and you're just like, there's a price to pay for this. And then once I was snorkeling, I lived in Key West for 10 years, and once I was snorkeling in Key West, and they have a lot of hammerheads that swim through the Florida Straits there, like around the island of Key West, to get from the Gulf to the Atlantic Ocean. And at one time, I swear to you, I was snorkeling, I was all happy, my arms are out, and my legs were out, and I was swimming around and snorkeling, and a hammerhead that was probably about 9 or 10 feet long swam 4 feet underneath me. And my arms and legs quickly came like this, to a fetal position, and I was like an egg in the water for a good 5 minutes. And I don't know if you ever hear your arms and legs out, it's something to bite. But, so that's kind of where the premise of things like that. Can I paint from life, my own life experience? But in the sense of going back to Nevelson, when I first started working for her, I thought, oh gosh, there must be something so wonderful about me, but it was the fact that I could lift heavy things. The sculptures are really big, and I could lift all this stuff and move all this stuff. a true story about the mines, which relates to Louise Nevelson. So when the conquistadors went to South America and they landed, and their boats were right out in the ocean, nobody could see them. They couldn't see the ships, even though, and this is I swear to God, this is true factual thing. The boats were like 100 feet off of the beach, and nobody could see the boats because they couldn't imagine them. They had never seen anything like it before in their life. The only one that could see the boats, 3 boats, or like whatever boats they were, were the shaman. And the shaman said, like, there's something in the water out there, and they're coming here, and and we have to be worried about this. And the people could not see them. They could not see the people coming in because they had never seen anything like it. And then the Spaniards came in and killed them all. The shamans ran, probably. But Louise Nevelson was my ship. I believe in my life that unless you see it, you can't imagine it. And for me to go to New York as a young man, so naive, and people used to say, like, stop looking up, because, I couldn't believe it. So magnificent, and she was my ship. Because until you see greatness, or until you witness it in your life, you can't imagine it. Until you see magic, you can't imagine that it exists. So I tonight might be your Santa Maria or your Pinto or whatever that is. I mean, until you see a masterpiece, until I really stood in front of Starry, Starry Night at the Met in New York, I didn't know it was possible. I couldn't comprehend greatness. When I saw Louise Nevelson, I finally was able to see and realize that not only does greatness exist in our life, but magic as well. And I'm not saying magic in some kind of like, ooh, but magic that comes from the heart. Magic that comes from the type of person that writes a symphony. Magic that comes from God. And so my work and what I do, I relate myself as nothing more than a vessel. I calm myself, I learn, I let my work come through me, but it's not really me. It's something greater than myself. And I'll call that thing God, but you can call it universe, or you can call it whatever you want. But whatever that is, that thing that allows me to do this, I know that it helps other people, but it helps me to grow, and it helps me to process. And also, there's nothing else I can do, really. I'm kind of stuck with it. As of late, I had my first job experience, and I worked for the lovely lead couple and her family. And believe it or not, there's not a lot I can do. So I really... You were a good runner. I was a good runner. Okay, so because of my beard, I have to say my one bad joke for the evening. That is, so a lot of ladies would yell up to me like, hey, sexy Santa, and I'd say, hey, ho, ho, ho. I have a lot of trouble coming into that. I have been doing this since I was a child, and I believe that this is what really God wants me to do. And I believe that I've been here to show others that, never let anyone tell you there's something that you can't do. Because you can do whatever you want. And all of those things about quantum physics, which mean basically what you think is going to happen is going to happen. If you think you're never going to be successful in your life, you never will. If you think that you will be successful, if you think you're capable of painting a masterwork or writing a symphony, you can do it. It's just that you might not know how to do it, but you can do it once you learn how to use the materials, or once you learn whatever that is. And in our society, people, I did a painting that was very controversial of a studio assistant I had from Sweden. She's the #1 pro golfer, Josephine. And when I painted the painting, she's looking in the mirror, and the mirror's directly looking back at you, but she's actually, the other person of her that's looking in the mirror is 3/4. In real life, it wouldn't make any sense. What it is that you're looking at the mirror, it's you in the mirror. Even though you don't look like Josephine, you're looking at, in my painting, what I do. I'm holding up a mirror, what can you do? I'm showing you what I can do. My paintings hold up a mirror to all the people that see them. What's in your heart? What can you do? Maybe you're a great gardener. maybe you're a great cook, maybe you are an incredible mom, maybe you are incredible with pets, maybe you, who knows what it is, whatever you, being an artist doesn't mean you have to select painting, sculpting, drawing, dancing, singing. It means whatever you do it like it's a masterpiece. You do it like it's the most important thing. You love your children like you're creating masterworks because you are. You know, you love life. Happiness is a choice. I have honestly learned so much in my life from awful things. I went blind for 2 years. They said I would never see again. I said, I don't believe you. I can't believe that. I'm not going to accept that. And after 2 years, I could see again. I've been through some very, very precarious situations, but I never gave up. The one thing that they can never take away from you, and even the people in the concentration camps knew that this was true, was hope. People can take you, they can break you, they can destroy you, they can manipulate you, but they can't take away hope. So every time I paint, I go to that place. I go to that place of hope, of love, of wanting to give something back, of wanting to be a part of something greater than myself. I would like to leave this planet better than when I got here. And so this is the only way I know how to do it. When things get really too rough for me in the world, and sometimes they do with what's going on in the world, I'll be like, kill her, no, kill her, everything, there's so much going on, that's a lot. So I go back into myself, I go back into my truth, my energy. I go back into this because then it helps me understand, maybe cope with what's going on in the world, maybe realize that I can't control people, places, or things, and I really have no business worrying about something that's out of my control. Why would I want to waste my time? I've had life and death experiences in my life where at one point I was packed on ice for 3 months and put in an induced coma. I know that our time here is limited. I know that all of our time is limited. I don't want to waste one more second doing something that I don't want to do. I don't want to be the person anymore that is just like a nice guy, so I'm going to rape not only your lawn, but all of your relatives' lawn, and do all your windows and dishes and be your slave. I'm not going to do that anymore because my time, I've learned through my work, is valuable. All of our times are valuable. So I'm not afraid anymore in this world. I'm not afraid to do whatever it is that makes me feel like I'm accomplishing something positive. And so that's why I paint. And I do it every day. I'm so excited to get up in the morning. I'm like, oh my God. I swear to God, I'll get there like 3 o'clock, baby. She's like, oh my God. My dog's name is Baby. It's 3:30, baby. She'll get up. And she's like, she looks at me like, you are such a freak. She knows I'm so excited. I go to bed and I think oh, it's only going to be for a couple hours. Because I want to get up and I want to work. It's it's my being. It's my essence, and it's how I raise my vibration. It's how I raise my energy level to a higher level. And I tell really bad jokes too. I probably won't go to hell for that, but you guys have to suffer through them, so. And I do laugh at my own jokes, so, I'm like, I just want to live a good life. I do realize that I really might be one of the richest people I know. And it's because I have everything I need inside. And it took me a long time to get to that place where I do love swimming in the ocean though, but that will happen again. But I believe that, we're here to work on ourselves. We're here to, sometimes things that we think are going to be such a gift are more of a hindrance. The more that you have sometimes, the more you have to take care of, and it will break down. And you have to call it a repair person and all sorts of stuff. It's the less you have sometimes, the more streamlined you are, even with your thinking, the more you can accomplish. So I use this as I'm a dedicated person. I'm a dedicated person in everything I do or try to be so that I can feel really great about being tired at night. That fulfills me. I love making people smile. I know that when people have my paintings in their home, that it makes them feel good, because we're all made up of energy, and this is positive energy. I'm creating positive energy in a world that needs it so badly. And I believe that creating positive energy as an artist or as a singer or whatever has a domino effect. I know it does. I know that people listen to songs that they love on the radio and it makes them feel better. I know that people walk through the museums and it made them feel better. And even if I can make somebody feel better for like 2 or 3 seconds, that's impactful and that's powerful. Because there was a time in my life that I didn't know I could feel better. I didn't know that that was a choice. And I didn't know how hard it was to work for it. But the more you work for it, the easier it gets. And the more I went internally, when I went blind for 2 years, I realized that I could no longer look outside of myself, so I had to look within. And I learned so much more about myself and the world and life being blind than I could ever have imagined in my life. So this takes me back to myself. This settles me down and makes me think what a beautiful life I have and what a beautiful world we live in. And that this is enough for me. This is enough for me to contribute. So I stand in front of you tonight. I got my voice back. I'm so sorry about that. I thought that was God, like doing like, well, let's take his voice away because he's long. Thank you so much for listening to me. And please go out and do whatever you want to do. There's one other thing I'm going to tell you. This is true too. Every single child can run really, really fast, can paint like an angel, and they can sing like an angel until someone tells them that they can't. And then all of a sudden they can't. Don't ever let anybody tell you you can't do anything, because you can. And that's why I'm here. So thank you. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. And I'm so grateful for all of you coming tonight. I know it's cold out. Next time I will wear my wolf. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Does anyone have any questions for Lon?
Please.
How do you determine the pattern? Because when you start, you continue and do that on the whole object. So do you ever start and change it? How does that come out?
When I'm painting a painting, and I love my paintings the most, but I don't know what's going to happen, but that goes back to having faith. And I'll be working away, and I'll make a decision. Okay, well, I'll start with this. And I'll be painting the painting, and I'm really, living in the moment. Like dogs live in the moment, and they're so happy because they don't know what's going to happen next. And that's what they say, if you want to be close to God, stay in the moment, because that's when you'll hear him or her or whatever. So I honestly will be painting over here, and I don't know what's going to happen over here, but I know I can worry about it. I know I can let my mind go there. I know I have trained my mind to not go to those places. It took a lot. But I'll be painting over here, and then all of a sudden I'll look over there and I'll see it. I'm like, oh, there it is. I think they're already painted. I just think I'm the vessel. So I know that all you have to do really with whatever you do is you start. You just start. And once you start, let the universe take over. Let yourself be that vessel. We don't know how. You don't have to know how you're going to get there. You just have to know you're going to get there. We never know the how or the why, but you have to know that that's what's going to happen. You're going to paint something. You're going to sing a song. You're going to write a symphony. We don't. It's the process that's wonderful. Just like in life, it's not. You never make it. I know that my dad always said, like, yeah, on the day that I die, I'm going to have to work till noon. Well, he loved what he did. And he did. And he was so grateful. Everybody knew he was grateful that he got to work till noon on the day he died. He loved it. And I hope I get to as well. So yes, I don't know, but I do know that there's certain shapes I've replicated over and over again in my life, like a mantra almost. I do like a cell, kind of a flower shape, and then I do the leopard print. So, and it becomes prayer and meditation. If you are a baker, that can be prayer and meditation. If you're a gardener, that can become prayer and meditation. It's just staying in the moment, not letting those poisonous ideas infiltrate your brain, because that's evil. You know, living in the moment is having a God consciousness, letting those thoughts of like, I can't do this, this is dumb, what if this happens and that's really bad? That's evil. Somebody once told me that the biggest sin that you could have is not to have faith in the process or the reason that you're here. So I just have taught myself that I don't want to live that way anymore. I don't want to be that worrisome person. I don't want to live in that kind of negative energy. I want to live in light. I want to make something wonderful. I don't want to worry about like anything that might be beyond my control. So yes, I let it happen. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, thanks. Oh.
Nolan was not able to make it here tonight, which is so sad. I spoke with him this morning. He said the drive and the child care and everything. He's out of Somerset, which is about 3 hours from here. So unfortunately, he wasn't able to make it, but he did send me something to read to you, and I'm gonna read it in first person because it's hard for me to translate. So I am Nolan now. I have always been fascinated by the outdoors. Ever since I was young, my family nurtured my love for nature. When I entered the University of Wisconsin-River Falls in 1997, I was pursuing a degree in horticulture with a minor in liberal arts. During my sophomore year, I found myself in an introductory course for glass. And to my surprise, I had a natural talent for working with the material. My pieces logically leaned toward the natural world, heavily influenced by my surrounding environments. I enjoy connecting indoor spaces with the outdoors by creating pieces inspired by desert sunrises, waterscapes, and beautiful plants, as we see. Today, I have been working with glass for more than 25 years. I continue to be influenced by organic shapes, plants, and colors, utilizing both blown and solid working techniques. I create intricately assembled sculptures, and I also create vessels in a variety of shapes inspired by landscapes and seascapes. In either case, all my pieces of glass become a reflection of my awe toward the natural world around us. Note on my work. All of the work I create starts out as molten glass inside of a 2,000-degree furnace. The glass is gathered into the end of a blowpipe or a solid punky rod, depending on the piece to be made. Colored glass is added in layers depending on the desired outcome. Successive heating and shaping occurs until the piece is finished. The glass then cools down slowly in an annealing oven. Anybody? All right, good.
Nailed it.
All right.
Annealed it.
After the pieces are removed from the oven, each is finished with grinding and polishing. Sculptural work is sandblasted and acid etched. That is all. However, I do want to point out that, because this just blows my mind, these are not real rocks. Those are in fact glass.
I didn't even know that.
We didn't know that. Yes, incredible. It's unbelievable. And when I spoke to him today, because as many of you know, I'm not a visual artist, I'm a cellist, so I'm not going to make up anything here. I have little sheets that have his contact information, so if you have questions for him, he would love to answer them. He was so sad to miss you all today. So, thank you, Nolan. Thank you, Nolan. All right. So, the next artist is a dear friend of mine who I met in 2020. I entered a cafe called Shift in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. I had no friends. I had a dog with me, most likely, and I walked in and I met actually 3 of the beautiful people who are here, but the artist we are speaking about, Jen Schultz, was there, and immediately fell in love. And I am so grateful that Kel considered my suggestion for this beautiful person. You will find out more in just a moment, but I will be reading her bio as well as a portion of her artist statement as well. Jen Schultz, an artist from Eau Claire, also known as Robot Traveler on Instagram, specializes in analog collage and mixed media collage with an eclectic focus veering between intrinsic natural beauty and retro-futurism. She explores the intricate relationship between women and nature in her latest collection, When Women Dreamt of Wings, which is in the Powder Room Gallery. Drawing inspiration from the beauty of vintage imagery and the ethereal qualities of birds, Schultz's newest work reflects a deep fascination with the themes of silence, song, flight, and dreamlike surrealism. A graduate of the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire with a bachelor's degree in art/illustration, Schultz has exhibited her work in various galleries throughout Wisconsin and has contributed to projects including book and magazine covers, album art, and event posters, which is also how I met Miss Jen Schultz. I started a small music series called All Ears Listening Sessions, called her immediately, and she created incredible posters for those events, which I'm eternally grateful for. She primarily works with her hand-cut paper materials, but also utilizes her talents in digital collage and graphic design for various clients and commissions. And now for our statement. A collage exhibition exploring the silent longing and vibrant current of women and birds across time, blending vintage imagery with natural elements to evoke forgotten dreams, the weight of eternity, and the yearning for flight. My collages are conversations with the printed past. I collect discarded magazines, botanical plates, vintage photographs and art, even old textbooks, and bring them together with fragments of color and textures to create my surrealist images. Working by hand, each cut and layer is an act of attention, selecting a cheekbone to become a wing, aligning a collar with a feathered throat, letting a page's margin become a horizon. My current work is about migration and voice. Birds in these pieces are not mere ornaments. They are agents of movement, song, and survival. Some birds are poised for flight. Others are nested, molting, or caught mid-call. By combining women and birds, I explore the ways femininity has been framed and constrained by visual culture and how magazines, manuals, and advertisements teach posture, silence, and display. At the same time, I want to recover possibility, the idea that identity can be transformational, seasonal, and self-authored. And with that, Ms. Jen Schultz.
Hi everybody, I'm Jen. Thank you so much, Lydia, for the introduction, for having me here. Thank you for being such great hosts, and thank you, Marty, for putting up my work in the powder room. I just really appreciate it. I also want to thank and give a shout out to the Eau Claire folks that drove a couple hours in the cold to come and support me, and some family that's here as well. So, yeah, I don't know how I'm going to follow what line. I'm definitely a little more quiet. I like to let the word do the talking, you know. But I really appreciated so much of what you said. And I really resonated with when you were talking about finding stuff on the side of the road and things like that. I think that is a lot of what I do. Is I use a lot of found images and found things, magazines, just whatever I can get my hands on to create my work. And yeah, it started for me. Collage started, I think, in about 2015. I'm not sure exactly, but it was a response to a crisis in my life, and I needed an outlet. And it was really the fastest, easiest thing to do was put a bunch of stuff together. I saw some things in some magazines that actually made me upset from like a long time ago, and I just started putting stuff together, and I came up with this collage that will never see the light of day, ever, because it's, I mean, I've maybe showed it to maybe 2 or 3 people, because it's horrible, like it's just bad, but it was cathartic for me. The cutting was cathartic for me. The process of seeing these images and feeling those feelings and gluing them down and saying, you know, that means something to me. Together, these things mean something to me. And so then I was hooked. I was hooked on collage, and that's been my main form of art ever since. My work right now, it does have a lot to do, like Lydia read, with women and how women have been viewed in the past, and the expectations that are put on mothers, like you talked about, and just women throughout time and history, and just kind of my quiet thoughts on that. Nothing is too in your face by any means, but if you take some time and read between the lines, you might be able to see what I'm trying to say. The one other thing I wanted to just mention is I just started this new process. It's not new, but new to me process of tape transfer. And so a lot of my images it's not just like paper collage. I actually have tape transfer, which is basically you use packaging tape. That's what I use. And you lay that down on a layer over an already printed image. You soak it in water. You remove the paper pulp. And then you have like a transparent layer that you can put over anything else. And then I glue that down and I play around with the layers and what kind of things go with that. I felt so much joy and like excitement in this process, and it may seem silly, but I really have just really dug into it, and it's really sparked more, like I said, more excitement for what I'm doing and everything. So please take a look and see what that looks like, because I think it is something that I don't see very often around in the art world, and I think it's just really cool. So that's what I wanted to say about that. But I don't know that there's much else.
She is teaching a workshop at the end of April. I think is it the 25th, 27th? It's that Saturday, whatever that day is. But you all should come. We're gonna have a wild time. I'm probably gonna make mimosas. I don't know. It's just gonna be really fun. So
Yes.
Yeah.
Please do come and let me know if you have any questions. Mark, you have a question?
I was going to ask about your April class, and are you going to share that technique with the tape?
The tape transfer, I have had some requests. So I honestly think if I can get everything together to do it, I think we should do it. I think that would be really, really fun and exciting, along with collage just as a medium itself. So yeah, I think we've got enough time. So
Excellent.
yeah.
yay!
So
Any questions?
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Do you have one of the tape transfers in there?
Yes, there's like.
Can
all
you
of
bring
them
it out so
other
that we
than
can
three.
see it? And you
I
could.
don't know if I can bring it out.
They're kind of stuck on a
Oh,
thing.
all right.
We can show you. We'll show you.
Okay.
I have another question.
Yeah.
Do you begin with a story in your mind, or do you choose random images that coalesce into a story?
Yeah. So that
Or
is
is
a
it-
wonderful question. I think it's both. It's really both. Sometimes I have something that I want to say, and I kind of look for images that kind of are about that, and kind of I can put together. Other times it's just I'll start with something, and I feel like that's actually kind of how this started. Is I was doing a series called Nature Ladies, and it was just women in nature, and it didn't really have a whole lot of meaning. But when I started putting women and birds together, it started meaning something to me, and it started speaking to me, you know? And so I think that way it was kind of in the reverse, where I didn't start out with something in particular that I wanted to say, but the more that I did, the more I looked at the vintage magazines and vintage books, the more I wanted to say with it. So, yeah. Any other questions?
Where do you get your magazines?
Everywhere. Everywhere.
My husband, I do antique stores, Savers, Goodwill, eBay. Yeah, people give them to me now, which is the best. Like, if you want to drop any off, I shouldn't say that. But I'll pick them up in April. No, I have quite an array of books and magazines, and yeah, it's not just magazines. anywhere, yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you all again so much for your time, for braving the cold. I just want to mention that if you don't know about River Arts, I think everybody in this room does, but we do have brochures. We'd love to see you at other events. We also do 10% off during art reception, so if there is something that strikes your fancy, you get a 10% off discount. And we can help you out with that up over at the cash register. So please enjoy some food and drink, and thank you all again so much for being here.